All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sisters for Harmony. I am one of your hosts, Dr. Kathleen Walls. I am joined with my other host, Brother Edamoja, and Dr. Natasha Ramantal. And we are super duper excited to have our guest here this evening. She was being pulled in all types of spaces and places, and she said, "Oh, I'm coming to Sisters for Harmony first." So we thank you. Please welcome award-winning author, playwright. What else am I missing?
Screenwriter.
Filmmaker, screenwriter. Right, exactly. Diana Rhodes. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, sister. I am doing well now that I am here among friends.
Come on. Come on. We are so excited. I'm gonna pass the mic to Brother Emoja first. He always opens us up in a certain way, but I'm also gonna pass it to him because he's the one who actually introduced us.
Yes.
So I want him to talk a little bit about how you two got to know each other, and then we're gonna keep it flowing. So, Brother Emoja, I pass it to you, sir.
Years ago. Well, first and foremost, I greet everyone in the name of God and our ancestors in whose footsteps we most humbly walk, understanding we were all put here on a mission and a vision, and it's up to us to embrace it and see how do we make it become a reality for us and for our global community. So, tap peace and blessings.
Amen.
Diana Rhodes. Oh Lord.
Say that name
Where
again.
do we start? Many moons ago.
See you again. It's been a minute.
And, as I'm thinking about it, the interesting thing about this, and I think this is something, I always talk to the young people. I was like focusing on young people, everybody, but specifically young people, is that be conscious of the people you meet because they will come back around. They will come back into your life on some level, some way, somehow.
Exactly.
And it's important that, we don't all have to agree, but we should all respect each other's journey. Something I think is very important. So I say that because Diana Rhodes and we met years ago, and we came through sister. I forgot the sister's name that told
Lisa
me about.
Madewell.
Yes, and she told me about you because I was looking to somehow talk about screenplays and how do you go from a book to a screenplay. And she said, "Oh, you need to talk to Diana Rhodes." I said, "Who's that?" And she introduced me to you, and we had a really good show. And then at that time you were doing a program, and a lot of us have ideas in our head and books that we wanted, and books that we have written or want to write, and then we want to take it to the movie version or to a film version. Right. And that is a job.
It really is.
It's a very good job to take someone's book. People pay you to take their book and make a script out of it and take it into the next part of life. And Diana was doing you had a program going at the time about that, and I thank you for being nice to me back then. No, I say that.
I said to me too, brother.
I say that jokingly, but seriously, because in the world we live in tonight. Unfortunately, the world we live in today, you never know who you're coming across. And what we did in Sisters in Harmony at that time was build bridges so that way our women could feel comfortable talking to each other and talking to some conscious people, positive people. And we were, Ruby and I was very happy to do that because we thought it was our calling. And so as we move now into 2025 and our Sisters in Harmony is Sisters for Harmony, my wife turns and then here you come back again.
Yeah. And happy to be back, by the way.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're back because in 2025, we see more people looking for the skill set you have. Because a lot of people want to tell their story from their perspective, but they don't know how to put it down correctly on paper. And so what you do is I think will be more needed as we go through the 21st century. So thank you for coming on tonight, and hopefully someone's listening and they will be contacting you later.
Yeah.
Well, and teach one. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, let's talk about this. So I have purposely put a certain color up for us tonight in honor of you, and was so moved to wear a certain color today in honor of you. So let's
Thank
tell the
you.
people what I'm talking about. Look, and I'll hold up my phone case too. Look.
Ooh.
Okay. I thank you. I am honored.
Come on. Tell the
She's
people
talking
about
the
you.
color
And
pink.
yes.
Yes, she's talking about the color pink, and this is about my production company, Pinky Bell Productions, which I'm very proud of. The show that we're going to be talking about this evening is the very first production off the assembly line. So I'm so honored. Yes, thank you so much. So I
The
feel
baby has been birthed.
Yes.
I feel very, very honored to be on this show talking about this. And to your point, brother, I feel blessed that I was able to come back having evolved in my field. So I bring with me the credibility of the experience that I've had, and I'm more than happy to share it because it is a journey and it is a struggle. It is not for everyone. But if you are truly dedicated to your craft, it can be very lucrative and very rewarding as you watch your content come to life. So I look forward to the conversation because I know it's going to be great.
Yes. All right. So for everyone who is new to the show, one of the things that I always tell you is make sure you have your pen and paper ready. That is including myself. All right. Or somewhere to take some notes down because you are going to hear something that is going to be informative, inspirational, motivational, something either for yourself or for somebody else. So this is your moment. Grab what you need to get so you can take down your notes. All right. Now you can also hit that replay button, which is great also. And you can also please hit that subscribe button at Ask Dr. Walls 525. It honestly costs you absolutely nothing. I let you know that because I know there are subscription-based options. I'm just asking you to hit the subscribe button. So I just need you to go on and do that. So now, Miss Diana Rhodes, Pinky Bell Productions. And it was so funny because I kept going, Pink Belly. And it's like, it does not say Pink Belly. It says Pinky Bell.
No, it's Pinky Bell, which is actually a nickname that my maternal grandmother gave me when I was little because she said I had rosy cheeks. So she called me Pinky.
How sweet. Ain't that cute, Dr. Ramatov?
Yes.
I know.
That was one of my questions, actually, about how she came up with the name. So I'm glad that she shared that.
There we go. So let's talk about this journey into writing and being an author, being you're a playwright and screenwriter. Where did this even come from?
I've been writing since I was in the 4th grade. I am a huge fan. Anybody who knows me knows this. I love Lucy, the show I Love Lucy. And in particular, what I loved was the relationship between her, Lucille Ball, and her then husband, Desi Arnaz. And the reason I love them is because they built such a phenomenal legacy together. And people really don't understand just what they did. They literally changed the face of television together as a team. And if you do the work and research their history, you'd be surprised about some of the productions they were actually behind, and it's a really inspiring story of the camaraderie of people who come together as visionaries.
Okay.
And I'm not married, but in a perfect life, I envision being able to accomplish the same thing. Well, honey, let me tell you, I got tired of waiting for my Desi Arnaz. So,
come on.
No Babalu.
If he comes along, he just comes along. I'm not waiting.
You gotta look for your Babalu.
Yeah, I'm looking for my Babalu. Well, I stopped looking. But I say all that to say, I just basically would refer back to the lessons that they learned, and I would, bring them forward to today. And of course we have the streaming now. They didn't have that back then, but we still today use things like the 3-camera shot and angle, so I just learned as much as I could about production, and I found out that on the spectrum of filmmaking, where I fit in was the screenwriting. That's what I love to do. You know,
Okay.
I've learned how to do the camera, but that's not my cup of tea. You know, I've done the lighting and all of that, but I really love to write. I like to create the worlds. I like to develop the characters. I like to tell the stories. And so I think one of the pieces of advice that I would give to someone who's looking to enter into the film industry, the first thing you need to do is identify where you fit in, because there are so many jobs, you know, from camera person to lighting person to sound person. There are assistant producers, assistants. There's so many things. You have to find what your niche is. Once you identify that, you need to hone in on that. You need to eat, breathe, sleep, drink, everything that it is that you love to do in this field. And once you master it, then you can market it.
There's a nugget right there. Y'all better capture that one. Okay. Look, y'all, come on, Dr. Ramatal. Let's get it down. Look. That's right. And how do you know when you've mastered it? What's your signal?
When people start calling you to do it for them. You know, I get calls from California, from Ohio, from Pennsylvania, from New York. Hey, can you look at my book? Can you translate this into a script? And, you know, I am really honored that people, you know, call me and ask me for my expertise. I'm always learning. So I feel like I'm a work in progress, but, you know, I also feel that I've paid my dues when it comes to writing, and I've done some pretty good work. You know, I came from a field of theater originally. I was writing and producing screenplays. The last one I did was in 2014, and it was actually a tribute to the late, great Phyllis Hyman. I don't know if you all
saw
know
that.
Yes. Yeah, so I did what was called a development production. And sold the house out in less than 2 hours, made $5,000 that night. I was happy. I was really happy about that. But it made me realize that if I could do that, then I could take it up a notch and start doing television.
I love that. Dr. Ramatal, you have any questions?
Oh, yes.
You look
I was thinking about it. I was like, because I wanted to know which of your life experiences or even some of your cultural influences most deeply inform like the stories that you tell.
Well, ironically, that's a good question. Ironically, it was what I didn't see that I wanted to tell. What I did not see a lot of was positive male role models. Outside of the Cosby Show, I really couldn't recall seeing positive male role models in the African American community in particular. And I got tired of seeing, you know, the gangsters, the killers, the slaves, and our men. I wanted to tell the story of a good man, a man who, you know, has been through some things, but he's got a good heart, and he's there to be of service. He's there to help build his community. And so when I created the character Earl Washington for One Single Step, that was what I had in mind. I wanted to tell the story of a good Black man.
Yeah. Brother Mojo, what's coming to your mind?
I gotta say amen. I mean, that's something that, you know, people who know me know that's something that motivates me as a man of color. Is this like, when do Cosby Show? We all go back to the Cosby Show, and it's very it's good, but it's irritating to think that we all go back to the same point. We should have like 20 different points that we could say this one, that one, that one, this one, that one, and we can't. And so when we look at the Cosby Show, we say like, what did he do, and how did he do it, so that we could repeat it, replicate, and take it to the next level. And I think exactly what you said is just like, I didn't see that growing up. I saw Father Knows Best. That wasn't enough. I saw all this other
Robert
stuff.
Young, absolutely.
We saw all these really cool men not of color doing this really cool stuff, and like we look in our neighbors and say, well, but we know some men in our neighborhood that does that. How come they don't do stuff about us? And here came the Cosby Show, and then they hit the Cosby Show. Oh, a man who's a doctor and his wife's a lawyer. Yeah, right. Right. And the sad thing about we have people of color saying that.
And that's only because we haven't seen it enough.
Yeah, and so I was like,
it's relatable.
Exactly. So it's like, well, let's do more of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, we don't hear it anymore.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. And so, so what you said is very true. It bothered me. So when I like now when I'm writing stuff, I write things in that not only I like to show the connection between male and female and how one helps the other and the balance. Instead, like Cosby Show showed the balance where his wife was a lawyer, he was a doctor, and it went back and forth. That's one thing that was really cool about the Cosby Show. Sometimes he took the lead, sometimes she took the lead.
But they were always working together.
Yeah, they were a circle. There wasn't there was no point. There was a circle.
Right.
And so that was the good thing about the Cosby Show.
Yeah. So the only difference in my show is that I wanted to put a good man in a scenario where he's recently married.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, after 1 year of marriage, his wife passes away.
Mhm.
And now he's left with his 3 stepchildren.
Mhm.
And then on top of everything, his baby's mother comes to tell him, you need to take your son, your 15-year-old son, because he's acting up and I can't do anything with him. So now he's got 4 children raised by himself. And he's got to figure it out. And he does. He does figure it out. But it's his journey. And so I feel like this is an important journey because I feel like there are a lot of fathers out there that are, really pulling things together and they just don't get their proper just due.
For sure. Let's take a peek at the trailer.
Wonderful.
All right, here we go.
Family. I dated your mother for 2 years before we decided to get married. You know what that means?
What?
That means you've been a part of my life for 3 years. Earl, listen, you're a good brother. You're a good man. You've been a blessing to them kids. You understand me?
You look a little pale, my God. Oh my God. Caroline, Ann, hurry, come help! I'm dying. I don't want to die. But my son needs his father right now.
I know it hasn't been easy, so if you're just hanging out with me, and we'll make it through this thing called life, one step at a time. Okay? Together.
Yeah, so as you see, Lawrence Terrell directed it, but he also starred in it, and he plays the main character, Earl Washington. When I tell you this man did a phenomenal job,
Yes, he did.
Understatement.
Yeah.
It is an understatement, and I'm proud of him. So, we're just putting this project out there for the masses, and we're getting pretty good responses. We're currently streaming on Fossum right now.
Okay.
We're streaming on Amazon Prime, but only in the UK. We're trying to find out when it will be here in the States on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
But we also just got licensed with Tubi, so we're really picking up momentum.
Come on, y'all are doing it. Come on.
Absolutely.
What is that? Well, let me just back up just a little bit. So people hear words like author, screenwriter, playwright. What is the difference between those three?
Okay, that's a good question. As an author, I write books. I write ebooks. I write print books. As a playwright, which I don't do as much anymore because it's a little more demanding. But playwriting is writing for the stage, for the live stage. Okay. And then screenwriting is just essentially what it says. It is writing for the screen. You could be writing for the small screen or the big screen.
Okay.
But you're essentially writing with that viewership in mind, you know, the person that's going to be looking at a screen. And so you need to write with that person in mind. What do you want them to see?
Yeah.
And as your characters interact, what do you want your viewer to feel?
Yeah.
So you have to keep those things in mind as you're writing for the screen. So it's a little bit different than playwriting. I prefer screenwriting.
Okay.
Just for those reasons.
I was going to say, how come?
Yeah.
Because I can get a little more in depth, I feel. And it's interesting because remember I said you got to find where you fit in the whole gamut. And you can have a really, really great script. And this is something else that you guys in the film industry need to really, you know, if you're interested in the film industry, you need to understand this. You can be a dynamic writer, but it takes a village to compose a dynamic project. Because if you give them a great script, but the actors are lousy, your words are going to die. Your words are going to be flat. Okay, so you have to get like the Betty Davises and the Joan Crawfords and the what is it? Give me another actress, you know, whoever. But you have to get somebody that's really passionate about their acting to bring your characters to life. Yeah. And then the other layer, because you know it's all about layers. You got to get that director to pull it out of the actor. Okay, because sometimes acting can be flat. You can say the words and you can mimic the moves, but if that director doesn't know how to put that whole vision together, it all falls flat. So I say that to say that we all need each other.
Yeah.
You know, I know as the author and the writer of the script that it's a good script. However, it would not be the great project that it is without the actors that I had, the director, the sound guy, you know, and then the editor, which would have to be Lawrence. So, you know, it took that whole group of people to pull it together. So I thank them wholeheartedly because without them, I would not be sitting here in front of you right now.
Go ahead, Dr. Ramata.
Yeah, no, it sounds like such a big process, and there has to be like a lot of investment from those that are involved. I mean, for you, from the concept to writing to the director that you said brings it out of the actors, and then the actors themselves to deliver. And I'm just curious, what is your process when you're developing a new script or even writing a book, from like idea to execution?
That's a good question. Gosh, you guys really asked fantastic questions. Oprah would be proud. You know what? My process is, one, I kind of keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on in society. And then I listen for, you know, what's being said and what's not being said, and what I think people need to hear. And what I think people need to understand, because sometimes you can hear something but not understand what you heard.
That's right.
You know, and this is why when we're writing, we pay particular attention to making our characters relatable. Because if you can make your characters relatable, then people can really be poised to transition their thoughts. You know, if you see something on the screen that you can relate to, now you can put yourself in that person's shoes and possibly see something from a different perspective, because it's laid out for you to see it that way. And in that vein, it's almost like having a superpower, because you can literally change the thoughts of people, the feelings of people. You know, and I remember seeing, I think the movie is called The Help. And I love that movie. If you haven't seen it, please watch it, because it's a wonderful movie. It's an older movie, but it's really good. And I like it because it tells the story from a Black maid's perspective. Maids, you know, who are dealing with the upper echelons of their, you know, their organization, their neighborhood. And it was so insightful, you know, to look at life from their point of view. You know? And by the time she baked the pie for the lady, I was done. I could totally relate to putting those ingredients in the pie. Boy, would I love
watch the movie to understand.
sometimes. So and we all have those moments that you just want to sock it to somebody one time.
Yes.
You try to take the high road, as Michelle would say.
Yes. Yes.
But every now and again, I want to bake pie.
If we see any pie called the health pie, we know we are not eating that pie.
Right.
Brother Emoji, what you got?
No, I like what she's saying, and that's something, as a writer, when you're writing, is like, who's your audience?
Right.
Who are you targeting for your storyline? Because, with 360 degrees, you figure what angle do you want to come from, what angle has touched you, what angle do you want to explore, what angle you want to put a spotlight on, because the way you tell the story is going to affect people watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And you might open people's eyes to seeing stuff from a different perspective.
Right.
The example I think off the top of my head is the civil rights movement. When they had the cameras and they had those water holes and the dogs attacking people, all of a sudden people up north started seeing what was really going on, and made them get involved with the civil rights movement, because all of a sudden they saw these innocent people, they're standing there and water hoses hitting them, dogs jumping and biting them, and they're like, what did they do wrong?
Right.
So as we tell, when we tell stories, we have to be, I think, like you said, you have to be mindful of what angle you're coming from, and what are you trying to tell people? What do you want people to feel? What do you want people to do when they leave the theater, when they move from in front of the TV screen? I know, for example, my wife, there's a series my wife doesn't like watching on television because it's so it gets her going.
It's emotionally charging for me, and it comes on like right before bedtime, and then I can't rest, and those images play in my head. And like you mentioned, it is a superpower to activate people in a certain way, and there's a responsibility, I think, that comes with that, because you're exactly right. So as I mentioned, even with one, tell me again.
One single step.
I get to the end and I'm like, tears coming. I said, she got me. And I could feel the tension in the space, right? The characters had built to the point with the story to the point of relatability.
Yes.
So now the point of I see myself in this space, and in each character, him as the stepfather, and she as the daughter. Like I could morph into both of those spaces and feel them both. So it's a very interesting superpower. Go ahead, Brother Moja.
The reason I think the reason you're able to do that, the writer has left it open for you to feel comfortable to move to some different characters, make you feel look at it from their perspective.
Right.
And that's I think that's what a good writer does.
Yeah.
Is to when you put something together, you want people to feel it. The other day I was talking to one of the actors I was working with, and she said, "Do you want me to do this in English?" I said, "No, I want you to do it in your language because I want your people to feel it. I could put some subtitles in the bottom, but there's part of your story that is going to touch your people, and I want your people to come into it and feel it. If you do it in English, it's not going to be the same thing. So it's just like where do you find what doorknob do you turn to open up for people to come in and feel what you're writing?
That's one of my favorite scenes, the scene between Candace Davis, who plays Jillian, and Lawrence Terrell, who plays Earl Washington, where he's breaking down and you get to feel his pain. He just lost his wife of only 1 year. Like, there's still newlyweds. Who thinks your spouse is going to die after 1 year?
Right.
And then from the other perspective, here's the stepdaughter who adores her stepfather, and it's breaking her heart to see him break down. She doesn't know what to do. So, I commend them both for really just nailing that scene. That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
They sure did. So I'm thinking about, you said you figure out where you fit in within this industry, be it playwright, screenwriter, author, so forth. But then also you figuring out what's your genre. What are the stories that you want to tell? How did you come to that?
Well, as a Black woman, I am privy to the Black experience. And so I am adamant about telling our stories, and I am adamant about letting them be told.
Amen.
Accurate as possible. Someone asked me, how will I know I am successful at what I do?
Mm-hmm.
I told them, when I get an NAACP award, not an Oscar. I wanted an NAACP award because for me, that says that I put positive images of my people out there for the masses to see. That for me is important.
Especially now, with history trying to be erased.
Yes.
For Black people.
Especially now.
Voice is needed, yeah.
Especially now. And so the ultimate goal of mine is to retell one of my favorite movies because of the dynamic actresses and actors in it, The 10 Commandments. I love that too. Love that movie. It had all the greats. I named my son after Hugh Brenner's character, Ramses.
Oh, wow.
I was so in love with his performance.
Wow.
Very good. But yeah, Charlton Heston, all those greats were in it. However, as great as that movie was, it was not accurate because the stories was told from a Caucasian perspective. And as you know, that story of Moses originated where? In Africa.
Yeah.
In Africa, which means those people were African. And so I feel like, with all due respect to the greats and the classics, somebody has to really step up and start retelling those stories accurately. It's not like it's a story about Santa Claus, because Santa Claus, could be any color. You can play around with that. But this is kind of based on our history. And so we want to tell these stories accurately, because who's viewing? We are. And our children are. And if our children see these African-based stories featured with Caucasian people, they'll never understand their lineage. And so I feel compelled to aspire to rewrite that story and a few others.
No, I'm glad you said that. When Ruby and I started Sisters in Harmony back in 2009, one of the taglines I put together was we want to put more positive images of our women back into the community on a mental, physical, and spiritual level, because we know they were positive images, but we wanted to put more out there. We wanted more points of light. So people could see, so women, young, middle-aged, and elders could see themselves. Right. And so when we did the posters and stuff like that, we made sure that we had different looks of our women in the posters, because I wanted people to look at those posters and see something of themselves in there. Right. If it was just 5%, they saw 5%. So, and that's why when we did so many posters for Sisters in Harmony, I was very adamant about making sure we had all sizes, all ages and stuff represented, because you never know who's going to look at it. You never know who's going. And I always told those sisters when we would talk, I said, think about this. There's a young girl somewhere who's going to see your picture, and people have been telling her how she didn't do this and couldn't do, and now she sees you doing this, and it gives her that little spark. And that was the big thing for us with Sisters in Harmony with the posters. Just put our images out there, so that way we could touch the world.
That's one of the reasons why one of my favorite producers is Myra Brock-Akil. I love the projects that she creates. One of my favorite shows that she did was Being Mary Jane with Gabrielle. I was a huge fan because of the imagery, how she had the African-American woman on the news, and then she had a Latina girlfriend, and she was also a producer on the news. And so it was good to see that. And we need more of that.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Now, I want to take a moment and highlight, unfortunately, my controls are frozen for whatever reason. So you have some comments over here in the chat room that are saying, yes, you have to relate, and it takes a great writer to do that. Samantha Horn says, you go, girl, put it in the atmosphere.
Yay.
Regina Goodrich says, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And I took a moment a few moments ago to highlight some of the awards that you have won. Can you talk about some of those, and what was it like winning that first one, if you remember?
Well, thanks to Lisa Madewell, who is also another dynamic screenwriter and author. She encouraged me to keep writing and to keep entering my projects on Film Freeway, which is a wonderful platform for screenwriters and filmmakers alike. So if you're interested in trying to garner laurels for your work, that would be the platform I would strongly suggest you use. But they have others like Slated. So you just have to kind of, search for what you like and just go for it. But because of my application to Film Freeway, I started, submitting my projects, and they started getting laurels, which are the awards. And I would place first or special mention, and then I got my first win with One Single Step, and One Single Step won for another one, and then it didn't just win in the States, it started winning overseas. So I'm onto something here. And it's a good feeling, it's a really good feeling when other people can receive your work with such honor. And I'm so grateful for every win I get. I'm grateful for all the laurels I have, whether I win them or if I'm just, second or whatever. It's just recognition and knowing that somebody else is experiencing your work.
Yeah,
it is appreciated. It's appreciated.
So I know, so to the audience, she has another engagement that she has to run to shortly.
Yes, I'm going to be at Greenlit in a few minutes. I have to, the One Single Step is actually screening there.
Okay.
And, the cast and some of the crew are going to be there, so I'm going to meet them over there and answer questions and stuff. So, yeah.
So we are super honored that she was so committed to staying with us and joining us this evening, but we're going to let her go a little. We ain't going to let her go. We're going to encourage her to get on up and get on out so she can get over there and keep doing what she's doing.
Yeah.
All of us. But tell us, before you roll out, what's up next? How do people follow you? What do we need to do?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram at drp.tv. I have a Facebook page. Just look for Diana Rhodes. You'll see my face up there. And look for maybe in another 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be doing an Indiegogo campaign because we are in the process of raising funds so that we can shoot the entire first season for our pilot for One Single Step. So since we got so much momentum going, we want to keep that going. So I'm looking forward to all those donations and all that.
Yes. Well, we're definitely going to have you back. And maybe we can think about some other things we can do to help with that fundraising.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
That'll be good. Dr. Ramantal, any final questions you have, Brother Emoja?
I did. I had one. I know you gotta go. I wanted to ask you, how do you stay true to your voice when it comes to this industry, they try to pressure you to conform?
That's a good question.
Great question.
How do I stay true to my voice? Well, like I said before, I pay attention to what's going on around me, keep my finger on the pulse, and I don't like a lot of nonsense. So I'm very comfortable being solitary, and I don't try to fit into other people's world, and I'm cautious about who I let into my world. So if you're there, it's because I feel you're a solid person and I can rock with you.
Yeah.
And I'm totally cool with that. At this point in my life, I'll be 59 on April 9th. Oh, God.
Happy early birthday. That's next week.
But I say that to say I am at this age in my life where I am unapologetically me. And I'm grateful for the years that I have on this earth. And I'm grateful for the relationships and the friends that I have. And I'm good.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank
Brother,
you.
Brother Moja, any final statements before she skedaddles?
There's no congratulations and keep on writing, girl.
Thank
Mhm,
you.
mhm.
Thank you so
Put that
much.
good ink in the pen.
Yes. Hopefully you guys will be able to come to the next premiere for the next.
Yes, we would love that. Diana, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Enjoy yourself tonight and continue your pursuit of relentless joy. All
Yes,
right.
I will.
All right.
Take care. God bless.
All right. Be well. God bless.
Bye-bye.
All right. So, as we were coming on the show earlier, and she was talking, we were talking, and this idea of relentless joy came up. And to listen to her and the work that she's doing, to have found her space, I think is so incredible. And as you talked about becoming 59, I think that's inspirational for people, because sometimes people think they should have found it already. Right. But I think everybody's reality of what that relentless joy looks like is different.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Ramantal, what's going through your mind?
I was going to say, and the goalpost changes with everything in life,
Come on.
right?
Yeah.
What you want today is not what you want next week, next year, in a couple years.
That's
and that's
right.
okay. What you choose to pursue at any given moment, it's never too late. You're never too old. You constantly evolve as a person, or you don't grow. So it's okay that it changes.
Yeah. Brother Moja, what you thinking?
No, exactly. We, as you said that, I thought about the Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders.
Okay, I can't wait to hear how we got there. I'm like, I know he ain't hungry because he don't even eat chicken. But go ahead.
About how this gentleman was up in, he was an elder when he really got moving with Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Okay.
So it's just like there's no age limit to your dreams, and you could start whenever you start. You feel it inside of you, and you go from there. Because the worst thing you could do is have someone who don't know you control your dreams. And when you
wait, look, where the hands at? Where the hands at? Because she had needed a church band for that one.
That one resonated with me a little too much.
Look, wait, let me help you, girl. Let me help you. Come on, get up.
I'm gonna we have a sister here, Samantha Horn, and the one person we have in common, I met her, and she's the one who introduced me to Demetrius, kind of, when I met her at the St. Lucian Embassy. And one thing we know about Demetrius is very passionate about what he does. And and when you're passionate about what you love and what you're doing, you find ways to accomplish it. And he just came out. He was just up in Canada. Yeah, I follow him. He was up in Canada doing his thing. I'm like, yes. Because every step you take in your dream gets you closer to another part of the goal. Now, people might not understand that step you take, but it's not for them to understand. As an artist, it's not. People do not have to understand what you're doing. Once you know what you're doing, because at the end of it all, people say, "Oh, that's what you were trying to say." Oh, okay, I get it now. Because their mindset and your mindset is different. You're creating something to tell a story from a perspective that you grew up in, or you just learned about, or whatever. And you know what? Once you have those points in there, someone is going to vibrate. You have an audience. Everyone has an audience. And once you understand that, your audience will come once you tell your story from your perspective. Your audience will come.
It's so interesting. It was 2006, y'all, and I was in New Orleans, and it was right after I was down there doing volunteer work post Hurricane Katrina, and I had just got finished doing my Live Your Greatest Life workshop on the ship that was down there. So for those who remember, because of the devastation that had happened with Hurricane Katrina in August of 2005, they had brought in a cruise ship for people to live on. And so it was the spring of 2006, and I was doing a Live Your Greatest Life workshop as encouragement for people. And after I got finished doing that workshop, somebody pulled me aside and they said, "Do you have a book?" And at that time I said no. And he looked at me and he said, "When will you realize that there's an audience just for you?"
Wow. Wow.
And that stayed in my soul. It just sat in there. And I just said, okay, what do I do with that? I wasn't thinking about a book. I didn't think I had a book inside of me. I wasn't thinking about being an author. I wasn't avoiding it. I had just never thought about it. But he planted that seed. And like I said, that was 2006. And then I ended up self-publishing my first book, The Greatest Soul Journey, in 2009. So that seed was planted, and I can't say that I was nurturing it, but it continued to grow nonetheless. And here we are X number of years later. So, you know, we never know. And to your point, Dr. Ramantal, right, the goalposts can change. For some people, it stays the same. They find it and they go forward with it. And I say my father was one of those people. Once veterinary medicine came into his life, it was like, here it is. And now he went within various scopes of it, from farm animals to, you know, everyday companions. He did a little bit of everything. And as he got older, just because he got older, he started dealing with dogs and cats specifically, as opposed to giving birth to cows and horses, which he had done, and mountain lions, which he had done earlier in his career. But for someone such as myself, who has varied interests, from being a classroom teacher to being a clinician to being an author to being an actress, to all of these different pieces, the goalpost is constantly moving, and I enjoy chasing it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think, you know, Dr. Walls, Dr. Ramantal. I mean, Dr. Ramantal, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. I mean, no, I remember when I first, how I met you with what you were doing, the medical tour, the medical, you know, overseas, going on, what do Black women need medically and stuff like that. That's not what, before I met, that was not where you started. You were a registered nurse, but
great point, Brother Boja.
But you made a pivot, and something happened in your life that made you go that way.
Come on.
And when you went that way, I met you. And then after I met you, I introduced you to my wife, and then we introduced you to these people. And now and then you started doing you got over 1,000 people liking your stuff now, and so that's a perfect example. When we look at 360 degrees, what do you do if you're standing at 15 degrees? You have 359 other degrees you could look at when you're ready. That's waiting for you. It's waiting for you. What you're doing right now, Dr. Ramantal, was waiting for you. You are unique in what you're doing because you took your medical experience and you're taking it and you're going globally with it now, and you're making it vibrate to people who need that service.
Right.
So your vibration is bringing the people that need it anyway. And now that you're vibrating on this, what you're doing right now, more people are going to come, because you know what? As you vibrate and you're in rhythm with your vibration, it gets louder, it gets stronger, and it brings people to you. That's why people say, I feel so attracted to that person. That person really knows me, because it's the vibration. You're doing something you love so well that people are coming to you and asking you questions and asking you stuff. So I'm excited to see what you do, where you in 1 year, where you're going to be doing.
I'm stepping into it. I received that, and I thank you.
Have a lot of knowledge.
Honestly, you sometimes you look back and you say you might have been blocking your blessings by staying where you are, staying stagnant. And I had a lot of things that I was doing and juggling a lot, but I recognized exactly what the barrier was. And honestly, I said, step out on faith, which is what I'm doing. And going full speed ahead, and actually it feels really, really good. I remember when
I told my wife, I said, it's time for me. I said to my wife, I said, it's time for me to leave. It's time for me to go. Because I felt I was holding myself back. What I was doing, I liked what I was doing, but I wasn't in love with it anymore. I still liked it, but I wasn't in love with it, and I knew it was time for me to take that leap of faith. And great, I had a wonderful wife who supported me with it.
Amen.
So when we look at these things, and there's people out there, you know, you got to take that leap of faith. You know, prepare yourself just like any sports athlete. You know, you prepare yourself to take that leap, but you have to take that leap.
Yeah.
If you want to see the next side, the next version of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, Brother Mojo, I want to go back to something that you said, and I wish I could quote it. I'll probably have to hit the replay at some point. With the idea of when Dr. Ramantal, and it's such a great visual. Sorry, y'all. I gotta whiteboard it.
Oh, she's going to the whiteboard.
There we go. All right. So you said Dr. Ramantal was going down her path when you met her, right? She was on RN Lane, right? That was where her focus was. But then at some point she hit a pivot, and instead of continuing down this pathway, she broke off. And it was when she broke off and went this way, which was now medical tourism, right, is then when she met you. Had she continued down this path, your paths wouldn't have crossed.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
And thank you for saying that, Dr. Walls. So those of people who are listening to us right now, know in your heart that when you pivot, you're pivoting to something else. There's people there who might be waiting and looking for what your pivot's about.
That's right.
Because when she pivoted, medical tourism was like, oh, I saw what she was. I said, that's something great. We need that information. We need this. So even though you don't have the full view of everything,
this is unclear, right? There's nothing there, but there's something there.
There's something there. It's I call it blind faith. Taking that step and knowing in your heart that you're doing the right thing. You might not know all the pieces yet, but you know if you take that step, the pieces will fall into alignment. But you have to take that step first. They're not going to come. It's not going to come to you if you don't take that step. But once you take that step, it's going to come to you because that's how the universe works. And
I feel like you're walking into your purpose without even realizing it sometimes.
It is. It's true.
Seriously, because you pivot, you may be looking at the pivot as either through fear, anxiety, or just like, no, why would I do that? Who would do this? Who would, whatever it is that you are stopping yourself or talking yourself out of. You really might be talking yourself out of your purpose, your God-given purpose. And to be honest, I feel like when you tell too many people, God didn't give it to those other people. He gave it to you. Exactly. So they will not understand. A lot of people won't understand. It's for you to go and to walk in it and to embrace it.
Yeah. I remember I was watching an interview that Denzel. I love Denzel. This interview he was talking about he was failing out of school and college and stuff like that. And his mother was a hairdresser. And he was in his mother's store, and this elder was in there. The elder looked at him, and she told him, you're going to be talking to a lot of people.
Yes.
And he's like, wow. And because of who he was, with his mom was respecting stuff like that, he didn't know about film. He didn't know he was going to do it in film on stage, but she told him and that lady saying that to him gave him the oomph that he needed to not stop. So right now in our community, we have people who are encouraging you. Don't give up. Don't stop. They might not know all that you're doing, but those words are the spark that you need, because tomorrow you might just say, okay, and you go this, and then you meet the person who's going to help you go to the next level.
Yes.
And that's what we have to remember. Don't give up. You don't give up. You might have to make some adjustments, but don't give up. Know your vision, and if you have to make some adjustments on your vision, make the adjustment, but don't stop because people are laughing at you. Let them laugh. let them laugh. Let them say their stuff because they don't live in your skin. You don't live in your skin. You live in your skin. Once you are comfortable with what you're doing and you feel it's what you should be doing, keep on working because you will make the adjustments so that way, you know what? When you go across that stage and get your Oscar or your NAACP award, and they're going to be sitting back there looking at you and saying,
I want to put up here, Lisa said, it's so funny, Lisa. I have been trying to click people's comments all night and they have not been coming up, but yours sure enough popped right on up with no issue. Is that I am on my 4th career after teaching for 17 years. I moved to Georgia to follow my filmmaking dreams. It's never too late.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen. That's right.
And Lisa's the one who introduced me to Diana.
Oh, wow. Hey, Lisa. Okay.
So you never know what people bring to you. I didn't know about Diana, but Lisa told me about her, and Lisa's the one who put me in contact with her because of what I was looking to do. And this is a perfect example as we're talking to people right now. The person in front of you or next to you might not have all the answers, but they might just have that one piece that you need at that time to continue. And then once you continue, you find somebody else, and you find somebody else. So don't give up on your dreams, man, because at the end of it, you don't want to say shoulda, coulda, woulda. You do not want to say shoulda, coulda, woulda.
That's right.
No, just continue and just do what you have to do and just understand where it's coming from.
Yeah. Pastor Goodrich says, write the vision, make it plain so we can run with it. Right. What is it? Habakkuk 2 something. 2 something like that.
2 4.
Okay.
I gotta write them on my.
Come on, look at it. Right.
I'm like,
Write that vision. So important. So important. And we look at the tree that came from this just to further point it out, because then that's when you met, Brother Moja, and then he said, Kat, you gotta meet her. I need you. He sent me your stuff. And then next thing you know, right, it's branched now over here.
Yes.
And then here I come along. And then it's like, okay. And then we start talking and you go, okay, well, now I'm going to open up my own podcast. And then now we up here, right?
And then one of your guests was like, you need to write a book. And I was like, and then you took that and said, yes, you do need to write a book. And I'm like, uh-oh, I got this relentless on me now. I have to do a book.
And I think that's what people who are listening, if you're thinking about quitting, just think about where you are and stop for 1 minute, 1 second, and look behind you at how much you have done already. Sometimes we don't stop and look behind us at all the things we have done and all the people you have met. Once you see that, now continue your journey.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't stop and smell our roses.
Yeah.
Okay. Take the time and think about the people in the last 4 last year in the 4th. Think about all the people you have met in the last spring, since last spring, last winter, last fall.
Last April.
Think of all the people you have met, and where are they now in your life? Some of them have left. Some of them have left. Some of them are still with you. Think about that, because before you quit something, look at what you have accomplished already. Sometimes we don't look at what we have accomplished already.
That's real talk. That's real talk. That's usually an assignment I will give my clients. And I know sometimes with organizations I work with, when they're complaining about not having achieved some of the goals that they wanted to achieve, and I go, okay, well, let's look at what you did achieve since we last had this conversation. And one time we went through board and then some, and they were like, wow, we didn't realize how much we had done. And so we as humans sometimes seem to always be looking so forward or looking so back that we're not being mindful, one, of where we are right now and what we've accomplished to get to this point. So go ahead, Dr.
I was going to say that's a really good point, because we don't do it. It's always like we're constantly striving for something, whether it's oh, I should be here now and I'm not. You kind of look at some of the things that really aren't helping you to move forward, honestly. And then you have the other point of view, which is you sit there and say to yourself, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Why should I be doing this? And it's honestly about really taking the time to say, you're capable of doing anything
Yeah.
you put your mind to.
Come on.
And a lot of times I hear people say, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, because it's outside of maybe their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in
Mhm.
order to achieve something you've never had before.
That's
Yeah.
right.
You
That's
have
true.
to.
That's right.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
And I just say it's all about perspective. If you're a caretaker and you take care of people, if you've lost a loved one and you're still standing, you can do anything in life.
Come on.
Because to me, that's the worst thing, to
Come on.
lose people. So,
Yeah.
and it's so permanent. So I always say it's really in relation to how you look at life.
Yeah.
I had 3 children. I can do anything.
Yeah.
I've lost 2 brothers. I can do anything.
Come
So
on.
even though it's something I've never done before, I know I can do it because
That's
I've
right.
lost this and I'm still standing.
Come on. That's right.
Come on.
Go ahead, brother Emoji, while I grab my tambourine. That's right.
There's an African proverb. How do you eat an elephant? It says one piece at a time.
Mhm.
And I always think about that. Even like, for me right now, the challenge, it's like, wow, we're doing this web series, and I never been to Africa, but I have groups in 7 different African nations I'm working with.
Wow.
And I'm like, and that was I was just determined not to stop. And sometimes I bump, it's okay when you bump your toe to stop, but you don't cut your toe off. You just make sure your toe is okay and you keep on going. If you have a pebble in your shoe, you don't cut your foot off. You take the shoe off, get the pebble out, put your shoe back on, and continue the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I just looked and I said, where I come from spiritually, I said, God is so good, because here I am working with people in 7 countries in the continent I've never been to. And we're getting things accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it might not be on the Hollywood level, but you're getting accomplished, and we're moving closer and closer to that goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling my wife, I said, what we're doing right now with season 4 is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I thank God for that opportunity. I thank God for blessing me with the vision to do this and bring some great people around me. And so I just say that to people who are listening, and people who you might be thinking about quitting. Take the time and look what you have already accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look at the people's lives you have touched already. You might not be your ultimate destination. You might not be there yet, but look at the amount of lives you have already touched.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of people that you have, because of you, they're now doing this. Because of you, they stopped doing this. Because of you, they know how to do this better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, brother, Dr. Ramantal, I'll start with you as we get ready to close out. Please tell people how they can stay in contact with you. Tell them about Medical Tourism RN and why they need to follow you on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok.
Thank you. So yes, you all can find me at Medical Tourism RN. On my main channel, where I give out a lot of information specifically to Black women who are seeking any type of healthcare or treatment abroad. It's Medical Tourism RN 812 on YouTube. But that information is definitely applicable to anyone that is looking. But I do focus on Black women because, unfortunately, we have the highest death rates in almost every category, health-wise. So I do niche it down for women that are Black women, because I'm a Black woman and I love myself and my mother and my daughters and my sisters and all of us. But I also am a patient care advocate, and I help patients and their families or caregivers navigate the healthcare system, whether it's clinically, financially, legal, social support, and to help you understand your rights and your options. And that's for anyone. So if you find that you need a patient care advocate, I am here for you. You can find me on all platforms, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, under Medical Tourism RN. And my Medical Tourism RN website will be up soon.
Okay.
But I will do my free consultation. I'll do a discovery call with you guys, 15 minutes for free, to just hear what your needs are and can work with you.
Mm-hmm. And I want people to take, with Instagram and TikTok specifically is where I see it the most, more so than on YouTube, is people sharing their journeys about going overseas for different medical treatments, such as just wellness checks, to dental work, to having children, right? So there are all of these, and let alone the plastic surgeries and the infamous BBLs and everything else. But having a patient advocate and one who is actually an RN and a doctor RN, like would be the top of the line advocate to have, and who is looking into what are good resources, what are things that you should be asking for, what are things that you need to take into consideration before, during, and after. Many times, and I have a client who just recently had a procedure, and they were thinking, of course, that everything would go well. Well, everything didn't go according to plan. Not that things went bad, it just didn't go according to plan. But they didn't have a patient advocate. And so they're navigating it and now dealing with anxiety and so forth. And things are better now. However, had they had a relationship with someone as yourself, and had they told me before they went and did this stuff, but things could have been put into place. And I want to say that's the other thing. Sometimes people hold it so close to chest, which I can understand, but you also need to make sure you're getting all the resources and have the advocacy that you need. And Dr. Ramantal is one of those people. And as she said, she will provide a free consultation for 15 minutes. And then after that, and you can find out what her rates are. But this is someone who has been doing this for a while now. So definitely a great resource. All right, Brother Moja, anything that you need to tell the people before we close out?
No, I just put a thing up on YouTube, but I just want to thank everyone for supporting what we're doing, the Kadaga web series. You can follow us on my website, umojaphoto.com, umojaphoto.com. You can always contact me there. And you could like and subscribe our YouTube channel, UCCN TV. So that way it helps us build we're building the movement. We're getting there. We're not there yet. We're getting there, but we do need support in what we're doing because I tell people this all the time. Kadaga is a fictional story about you, but what we're talking about is very real, human trafficking. And we made it to where it's family focused. I'm not going to say friendly because there's nothing friendly about human trafficking. So I say family focused because there's no sex scenes, there's no nudity in it. My wife and I specifically made it like that so that way the family could sit down. Teenagers could sit down with their parents or their friends and watch this because it's happening every day. Every day it's happening on some level. Every day. We hear it in the news all the time.
You guys say we just heard it last night.
Yeah. So that's all I gotta say.
All right. So in the chat room, I have put links to Dr. Ramantal's YouTube page. I have put links to Brother Umoja's website as well as to the Kadaga 3rd season. So you can go on to UCCN TV on YouTube and catch up because we are currently in production of season 4. One of the things, Brother Umoja said, like, it may not be Hollywood, but we're doing our thing. And I think that's what it comes down to. This is your life. How you choose to spend your time is up to you. And you want to do something that's fulfilling. We opened up this part of the segment talking about relentless joy. You want things that are going to bring you joy, things that are going to feed your soul, things that you're going to be able to look back on your life and say, I did that and I enjoyed it, and things you're looking forward to as well. And so we encourage you to step into your life and fully participate in it and create the life that you desire. And yes, sometimes you don't see where it's going, right? You know where you came from. You can always go back here. You know what this part looked like, right? But sometimes that drive inside of you knows I'm not supposed to keep going this way. I'm supposed to do something different. And so we encourage you to go off. This is the foundation. So you got this. You can always come back to that. But you can also follow that faith and go on that faith journey and see what unfolds. And it can be very, very exciting. and you'll meet new people all along the way. Brother Moji, you look like you had something you wanted to say to that.
No, I was listening. Look at your board in the back. Some of we couldn't see because it's off to the side a little bit. But I guess people who are listening and GNS, you really need to touch base with Sister Ramatal, because we all of us have a female in our life, and we all came from women. And some of us have aunties, some of us have sisters, cousins, and God forbid you have to go looking for this information later. Now that you have it in front of you, take it and share it with the females in your circle. You know, and if you have a brothers or you have cousins, male cousins and stuff like that, tell them to share with their female friends.
Yeah, because
it doesn't cost you anything to check this out, because you don't want to be looking for it at the wrong time. And the wrong time is when you really, 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 really need it and you don't have it in front of you. And then your mind is running so fast, you don't even thinking about it then. So but if you have it already, when that happens, your mind will just automatically go to it.
There.
So check it out and stuff like that, and what she's doing, because I guarantee you're gonna find you know someone. Or you know someone who knows someone. 6 degrees of common ground. I don't say separation. We don't separate anything. The African high culture is 6 degrees of common ground. There's someone you know who knows someone who needs that information she has.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Dr. Robinson, anything else you want to say before I close this? I know I keep saying I'm going to close the show, but I got to follow my gut. Go ahead.
No, I want to just say a special thank you to you, Dr. Walls, for all your support, and to you, Brother Ed, for all your support as well. Both of you have been a blessing to me. And like we said earlier, that pivot, if you don't walk into that pivot, you may miss out on meeting wonderful people like them that are so supportive. So go out and do it. This is your sign to do whatever it is that has been pressing on you. Do it.
Just do it. Come on. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining us. Definitely, if you don't know about the Adventures of Froggy T and Bunny, a hip hop tale, be sure to check them out. You can go to my website, AskDrWalls.com. They are in there. They are wonderful stories for people of all ages. I was doing the latest voiceover that should be coming out within the next 24 hours. They are just fun tales to help you with social, emotional development and character building. And that's for people of all ages. They are great conversation starters to help you be just engaged with yourself as well as with your family. Let me see. Samantha says, that was really good. I needed to hear that. Thank you for that. People come in our lives for reasons and seasons without question. And a big shout out to Demetrius Charles, who Samantha just informed me during the show that his film, what is it? This Is How You See Me, was accepted into the People's Film Festival.
Wow.
Yes, so congratulations to him. And again, I want to encourage people to please go to the Metro Diner in Ben Salem. They were supportive of us for our Sisters for Harmony event a couple weeks ago. They donated the food for us. So that was completely wonderful. And their food is good. So definitely check out the Metro Diner. And we also encourage you to check out Ye Dean. They donated some wonderful body butters as well to really create that aromatherapy and so forth. That stuff is amazing. So be sure to check them out. Brother Emoji, anybody else? Oh, and we cannot forget our Host School Hope Partnership for Education. And of course, our partners in it all, which is Learn, Empower, Grow. For people who know early childhood educators or early childhood centers, daycares, and so forth, if you need professional development training, please be sure to check out Learn, Empower, Grow. CEO Dion Chambers, as well as CFO Dr. Stephanie Blake. They are a wonderful organization, not just because I'm the COO, but because they are a wonderful organization that does incredible work with early childhood centers. So definitely check them out as well. All right, y'all. Until we meet again, as always, God bless and continue to live your greatest life. We will see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Right.
Yay.